Good morning, New Eden. Today is March 19th, 2023, and this is the Federation Frontline Report. I'm your host, Frozen Fallout, and my co-host is Night Flyer.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining the show. Show? There we go.
To show you how it's done.
Right. So, Frozen, how was last week treated you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I haven't been doing a whole bunch, but I did get some good solid kills. Just last night, I was able to fly around with the Gallente and the Standing Fleet. There's a lot of weirdness kind of going on right now because everything used to be done out of the Discord for Galmil. There's the general Discord that we have. And then it's just called the Galmil thing here. So that is now being less used. And there's a new thing called like the Galmil War HQ Discord that is going on right now. Young, I see that I do have a message, but I can't because the way that I have the video stuff set up is that this is all through Discord. So I will get to your message, or if you're listening, maybe if you can type it in here, if it's urgent business. But yeah, so it is interesting though that the different things that are kind of going on with the use. So I've been on Sedition comms quite a bit, which is young Puke and Sedition and stuff like that. The young Puke's been running a bunch of fleets as of late, and being more of like the Standing Fleet and being down in the Aboon area, Aboon and Devon area, where most of the fighting is going on. So I found out the reason why I had a problem with getting onto Sedition comms for a long time. I was missing the S in there. the letter S, from the beginning of the URL. And for some reason my mind just kept on overlooking that. But now I'm on their comms. And we've got into some really good, just skirmishes that are happening. There was a Cyclone fleet clash between both sides using that, and we were outnumbered. And we did better. We did a lot better in the battle than they did. And I was flying around stupidly in a Thorax because I had no idea what was. I just jumped into fleet, and this happened like 2 minutes after I got into fleet, basically. Just undocked my Thorax and went out there, and I didn't get blown up. I was really surprised. I was expecting to take some losses. I haven't been running any fleets for a little while, but I plan on doing some more. We'll see what this, new comms and stuff like that, and new Discord, because there's some. Oh, so the reason why the Discords, I don't think I explained actually why the Discords are kind of messed up. And that's because authentication is not going to be able to be done for direct enlistment.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering. You said I was on special assignment last week, and when I came back yesterday, I realized I saw there was fleets out, but there was nobody in comms, so it took me a little while to find them. And I think it was Dylan actually sent me a thing that got me set up with that last night, but I didn't know the history behind it or what was going on. But yeah, it makes sense. If you can't get authenticated because you're not actually in those roles, then how can you get access to the the Discord so we can talk to each other?
Yeah, I'm not sure why that can't authenticate. If it can authenticate off of a you being in militia, there must not be a proper tag that in the API or something like that allows them to grab that. So I'm gonna investigate more into that. We'll have that, I think, more next week regarding what's going on with militia comms at this time. But I know that there's a lot of use of Sedition TS3 right now, and Young Puke is like kind of seems like there's a lot of work being done to get other Sedition is building up other things inside of Discord and authentications of their own and stuff. So we'll see how that goes. Have you had any time to do anything with the event that is going on, which we'll get into a little bit more?
Briefly, like I said, I was on special assignment, so I had my, blue ribbon crackerjack team down investigating the Tennessee area in the United States to see if the Caldari had, infiltrated that area, and they actually had a little bit. So um, I reported that back to the powers that be, but got back late last night and was finally able to kind of get on and play. Started trying to do some of the Explo stuff, and that didn't go very well so far. So I haven't found the sites that we need to find. So I did get back, got in some PvP, just doing some, um, plexing. Got in a fight with Judge Sarn again. So
Nice.
always a good fight. So he wasn't streaming, so he caught me off guard. But yeah, I was in a tormentor, and he came in an H run, and it was a good fight. I took him, but yeah, he's a good pilot. He's fun to fly against in those small frigates.
Oh yeah,
But,
yeah,
but
always
that's
a
about
good 1v1 fight.
but that's all the expense I've had the last week. So hopefully this week will give me a little bit more time to play.
Yeah, I've been
And actually
playing
really
around
dive into that.
in Devon too much to actually get out and try and do any of the new shipcaster. What are they calling this? The Shadow War, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that there's so much PvP going on right now that, trying to do these sideline projects. We keep getting like the daily things to like go mine. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna go mine when there's like a dozen fleets in system that we can, pew pew. So let's go do that.
Yeah, it is definitely like a constant amount of like 50 people in a boon, or in not a boon really. It's Devon is the one that's kind of like heavily under siege right now, and there's pirates, there's people, for the Gallente, people for the Caldari. But with something we'll talk about a little bit more, there isn't Minmatar or Ammar. We'll talk more about why that is really happening. With they won't be showing up to our space much anymore. So let's kind of get into the first thing that we want to talk about here is direct enlistment. So direct enlistment is the ability for you to join faction warfare without being part of a faction warfare corporation or alliance. So some of the things that I understand for this is that we have corporations are able to kind of limit their you have to choose a path based upon what your corporation chooses if they choose to do that, and I believe that that's not forced upon them. I don't know where in the UI that but it's probably somewhere in corporations that you're able to your corporate tab that you're able to actually like limit what they can get into. I'm surprised though that they didn't do the alliance level for that, because I wonder what it's going to be like for people that are in the same alliance or corporation, that they see each other on the other side of the aisle. When they come up as a war target, they're part of your corporation. I guess the overview would normally have set that to be, I guess that would be your overview would display them as a war target, I think, like by base.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have to. I think that was part of the big question going from the very beginning, is if they have this direct enlistment, or how do we have people get into faction warfare where you're not suddenly red to everybody or blue to everybody, or are you going to be shooting people in your own corp or alliance? So again, so they figured out the corp aspect of it, but yeah, I'm not sure about the alliance. I haven't seen anybody or talked to anybody from the alliance level.
And I think that that's something you even have to turn on at a corporate level. So it's probably going to be default off for a lot of corporations. But I think that that's not necessarily a big issue in Eve, as much as I kind of was thinking about, because it's more of a nebulous kind of thing, right? Instead of there being an actual penalty, because there's no penalty for shooting your corporate mate or your alliance mate or a blue of your stuff. If they're a war target, they're a war target, right? That's, so it's all good on everything except for when alliance leaders or corporation leaders kind of look at what's going on and they get people calling blue fuckery, right? But by default in the HUD, war targets are like the highest level of display. So for example, I did see something that was kind of interesting. I was in a fleet with somebody recently that I had marked as red, and put them at -10 standings, but they're in faction warfare now. So I see them as being faction warfare and part of faction warfare, but they actually were still showing on my HUD when I only had it set so that it would show enemies. But they showed purple as in my fleet, but they were showing up on the HUD as well. I don't know if there was a glitch that happened with that or how. So that's what I'm just. It's going to be interesting to see where you're going to be having people that you normally would not be friends with, and when you see them as pirates and they've come over and actually are starting to play faction warfare with faction warfare. So yeah, and so it depends on your overview settings. Henry is kind of saying here, it depends on your overview settings. You can drag what you want to show up as. Yeah, so I think that my main thing is the default for that, because that's going to be where it kind of makes all of the if the default is war targets are war targets, then that's a good thing, and allies are allies, that's a good thing. And I think that that's what it is. Or militia members, it's more important that they're a militia member than it is that they're blue or red to you. And yeah, what's on top will take the top priority. So.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you can how you can set those.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this direct enlistment?
It's good. They have figured out some of the big questions, like, well, what prevents people from hopping back and forth? And so there is a delay. So if you join one faction and then drop, you have to wait like 24 hours before you can re-enlist.
And you do have to have standings with that faction in order, because it's not like like if anybody joins my corporation, they get in regardless of whether they have good or bad standings with the Gallente. But for this, I believe that you have to have Gallente standings above 0.0, or right at 4 zeros or something like that. Then at some point.
Well, I haven't seen it have an impact in the system yet. Like I said, I haven't been really on the last week, but playing. I've been watching the news. I've been logging on and getting my daily rewards and viewing any mails I might have. But I'm curious to see what kind of impact it would have in the war zone moving forward. It would be interesting, but I think a lot of people that I was anticipating coming over as soon as this clicked on are now tied up in other areas of space right now with what's going on.
Yeah, it does sound like that is like a huge thing right now, is that there is another war that's happening in EVE Online that is distracting everybody from being part of. But I've actually heard that war is shit. Besides trying to achieve your objectives, and even those fights are not that good. That there isn't a lot of small skirmishing and stuff like that between the groups. It's just the fight wars, and maybe not at all.
Well, most of the Goon pilots I know are the guys that like to bring out the big toys, and I don't think anything has escalated quite to that level yet. It's still smaller skirmishes. I don't think any of the Titans have been brought out on field, so I know that's really what a lot of these guys are kind of looking forward to. So we'll see. And again, I've never seen that from Frat. Frat just usually is kind of numbers. They'll get up into the battleship areas and things like that, but
Pandemic Horde is not really well known for fielding big toys. It's a
Right,
lot of
right.
numbers game kind of thing. So
Yeah, so it'd be
I think
interesting
that
to see how this goes.
yeah, that I mean, I think that that's detracting from direct enlistment right now. I am really surprised actually how much nobody's talking about direct enlistment on like Reddit. There was like a little blurb about, like a post that, like one post maybe that was about direct enlistment. If not, was even like more nestled in. Um, but in general, there isn't a lot of like people going like, "Hey, cool, they got direct enlistment going. Now I'm joining faction warfare."
Yeah, I
And
think I think it's gonna be one of those things that happens in this game where something gets introduced until you figure out how is it going to go into my gameplay, or is this something I can use to make money or just have more fights. I think that's the big question: is how is direct enlistment going to create content for you? And I think as people start to figure that out, including you and I, um, then it will start having more of an impact, I think.
I'm interested too how this affects corporations that have people that want to be part of another corporation, but couldn't because they wanted to be in faction warfare more. But now, like, if I wasn't running my own corporation and alliance right now, my first thing would probably be to join up with one of the nullsec groups that are going to be doing faction warfare and get all of the benefits of being part of a big large zero point zero alliance, but also being able to participate and make all of your money and fighting in zero point or in faction warfare. And that's all. You don't have to do anything with the zero point zero stuff unless you want. um, so I'm wondering if this is going to take a hit on a lot of corporations and alliances in faction warfare. I haven't seen any attrition from it yet. um, a lot of people are already just alts anyways to a certain degree. Throughout faction warfare you'll have that. um, but yeah, I haven't seen like a huge boost in the number of people doing faction warfare right now. There's little like it's like a small trickle of people kind of coming in right now, and zero point zero Alliance is kind of deciding what side of which sides of the war that they want to be part of. So I think that there is a lot of like diplomatic talk that's happening, in the background that is kind of preparing for this more than I feel like this. It didn't come out of left field. They've been saying they've been gonna do this for a long time, but there wasn't like this isn't like something that they are like tooting the horn on at all, and have not been like pushing it really hard. Like I'm surprised there isn't like big pop-ups and stuff that says like, hey, it's faction warfare time. Like we did direct enlistment. You guys have been asking for this forever.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I would hope that they'd have some plan for that moving forward. I think if they introduce it and it doesn't quite have the impact that they were hoping it was having, that maybe they would kind of paint that picture for people a little bit better. Like, hey, like remember this faction warfare thing? And now hit this, go here and hit this button, and then go into a battlefield and see how much plex you're gonna get when you or how many loyalty points you get when you hit one of those things.
Yeah, I mean,
So
this is I really think that for any newbie, especially and all the way up to like hardened veterans, if you're looking for a way to make money while shooting stuff, like come to faction warfare, direct enlist in faction warfare, because this is where you're gonna make a lot of good money actually doing PvP, and that's one of the only things that like makes me really excited about faction warfare, is that it's the only place in space that I think has a consistent amount of just PvP while making money. Everything else, there's kind of like you can loot, well we can loot, so that's already kind of checked off there. You can um, be baity, kind of uh, call in the troops with your PVE ratting ship. But that's, I mean, not really, you're not really doing PvP while doing PvE and making money. You're really just doing PvE while hoping that somebody jumps you so that you can call in the boys. And I've been part of some of those fleets, the standing fleets in 0.0, and those are kind of fun to have, and it does every once in a while have something pop up, but there's this constant battle on your doorstep in faction warfare. And we are getting pushed back. I was going to talk about this before we got to this point, but I forgot. So let's go ahead and just take a look real quick at the war zone here. So main battles that are happening in faction warfare right now is pretty much Devon is the focal point at this current measure, the greatest focal point that we have right now. It is contested 79.7%. We have a 9% advantage, and we have maxed our advantage score at this point. This is a huge battle along with a boon, because they're protecting two of our most important backline systems, and now they're command operation posts. But Hades is well populated and controlled by the Gallente, primarily the network. And then Fliet is Aderon's home, and a lot of other people have set up shop there as well. And these are two systems that are currently being contested. They're not currently being contested. They're getting close to being contested. If a boon falls, which a boon is at 42.1% right now, then they can start plexing Hades. Now, I don't know if this is necessarily a big problem. The big problem is not that they can start having a frontline plexing, because that's kind of good. It's that they can dock in Hades, and they can dock in Fliet. And that's always been a really big bonus to having your home, is that you can dock, but they can't. But if they turns into a front line, that's not going to be the case anymore. So there is a lot of concern about what's going to be happening here. But for the most important thing is that we get plexing in Devon done. It is at 79.7% right now, hovering around 80%. And that system is just stuffed with people. We also have an Eve mail that went out that actually asks everybody to focus on Devon and a boon. It also says Talanin, but don't listen to that. The most important part is a boon and Devon. And Devon right now being almost 80% and a boon being 42.1%. There's less concern over on the boon side right now. And it isn't necessarily detrimental to have these at high contested levels. It's easier for them to push. If they can push and actually get that last 20%, then they can, it's a lot easier getting just 20% than 60%. But at 80%, you're actually making some decent LP payout for defensive plexing. So it gets a lot more people interested in defensive plexing when they can make money from, make LP from that. That's a lot higher value per plex. I know that isn't always the main motivator for some people, but it is the main motivator for a lot of people. And that's kind of wraps into the talking about how, faction warfare is about making money while PvP, because each one, if you're doing a site and it gets you 20 million, 20,000 LP, that's, give or take equivalent to about 20 million ISK once you've converted it.
That's the big circle with all of this, right? Like, the reason you need ISK is so that you can buy ships and modules for those ships, so that you can actually play the game. So if you don't have ISK, you can't buy ships. You can't play. And I think that's what we're all fighting here. And so that's what I kind of like about PvP is the simple fact that I'm playing the game is also giving me the LP that I can make ISK from, that I can buy all the catalysts I need. So it seems to work a lot better than if I'm ratting or just roaming in no sec. I lose a ship, it's just gone. And this again, it's just more active. So
do you want to take us through this direct enlistment page that they have here? So EVE Online has a little story that came out about direct enlistment. And I think there's a video here that kind of goes in. It's interesting because this doesn't really talk a lot about direct enlistment, which is another thing that, like, even the stuff that they're like, direct enlistment's here, they're like, I'm not going to really talk about direct enlistment. Because, yeah, they started off just kind of highlighting the newest episode in scope about the cracks in the relations between the Caldari, the Ammar, and the Gallente and Minmatar. Let's go ahead and check out that video here.
Hostilities between New Eden's Big Four empires have been growing over the past few months, with no sign that the escalation can be reversed. Against this background, with the empires apparently racing to develop advanced power and transportation technologies, a fresh diplomatic crisis has erupted. Allegations of Edencom and Concord agents gathering details on Caldari State research into new shipcaster technology were the spark for a major diplomatic row between the empires. The Minmatar Republic accused the Ammar Empire of using Edencom intelligence assets to covertly acquire technology from the Caldari. Subsequently, Caldari State investigations have revealed evidence that supports these allegations. Credible accusations of spying against an ally at such a sensitive time have put a significant strain on relations between the Ammar Empire and the Caldari State. Derived from Triglavian technology recovered from the Athenon system, the shipcaster is believed to have the capability to cast ships over vast interstellar distances with pinpoint accuracy. Able to bypass gates, cynoshield jammers, and other defenses, the technology would provide the Caldari Navy with a significant force projection advantage over its rivals. The Scope has learned that the Caldari Navy is already preparing to build a shipcaster at a construction site located in Anamon. The fortified system in the Black Rise region has already seen extensive naval movements and construction, building it up as the Caldari Navy headquarters for war zone operations. As the spying scandal rumbles on in diplomatic circles, it is being reported that senior figures in the Caldari State and Minmatar Republic have begun security cooperation talks in the Caldari system of Arakan, close to the Republic border. The new aggression and apparent duplicity of the Ammar Empire comes at a time when the Gallente Federation's militarization of the Intaki system is also coming under scrutiny. As New Eden's two largest empires appear increasingly ruthless and militaristic, some speculate that the Republic and State may seek a diplomatic realignment in their own national interests. This is Alton Havery, reporting for The Scope.
All right, so yeah, that kind of gives us a little bit of a insight into, the new event that's going on, the shipcaster construction that's happening, and the breaking of relations between the Minmatar and the Gallente and the Caldari and Ammar.
Yeah, this is definitely, as they said they were going to do, CCP wanted to use faction warfare to drive the narrative of EVE moving forward. And, I think this is a huge change. I don't think it's anybody speculated on the fact that they would try to break up the two sides and kind of redraw the lines as far as the war moving forward. I don't know if necessarily means that Galmil and Ammar will become allies as once we were with Minmatar, but it's kind of interesting to look at as potential possibilities of how that would shake up the game. I know the loss of Minmatar is been noticed so far from us that there were allies that we have had come over from Minmatar, and I know there are some Galmil players that like to be over in the Minmatar space.
Yeah, we even had corporations, when we were doing the Gallente deep dive, there were corporations that were strictly in the Minmatar war zone, and that's all that they were doing recently. Even ones that I'm pretty sure were Minmatar before, the uprising, had launched. So this is this is huge because we haven't talked about this. We were kind of hinted at it, but there is a breakup that happened in EVE Online between the NPCs, and that video kind of really brings it out into the open that the Gallente are no longer at war with the Ammar, and the Minmatar are no longer at war with the Caldari. And I just went over to the Ammar war zone just to 100% check this stuff out for myself, and get some, instead of hearsay reporting, because there's nothing like boldly stated once. I mean, there's so much nuance to everything that CCP seems to put into this game, or it's more about reading into things more in order to get the exact gameplay changes that have happened. I mean, they have the patch notes and stuff like that that you can read for yourself, but I don't see this being also talked about on Reddit very much, which is that because of that, and we're no longer allied with the Minmatar, so they show neutral to us. They show neutral. Ammar show neutral. If you try and plex inside of their inside of their war zone, you get a suspect timer and you don't count down the clock. So this is something that I just find it interesting how this isn't talked about more, and being wow, because this is a huge change. That's all. I'm really excited for it because there's always been problems with the Minmatar, and especially after Uprising was released, this whole wanting to shoot farmers and stuff like that. There were just a lot of people who were going out and using Minmatar alts in order to, or just having the Minmatar themselves come and kill members of your coalition that are not part of faction warfare. So to a small degree, it's hit us in a bad way that you can't hit farmers anymore, or seagulls as we're calling them, as easily, because you're not going to show up blue anymore when you can shoot them without a penalty. But there's always ways around that. But I do think that it is. I think blue fuckery was really stupid in general, though, because it's not very easy to set up a system where, if they're, especially with faction warfare, if they're AWOXing you, if they're the one killing you, you don't even see them on the screen. Let's say that you get it finally set up so that they will show up on screen for you, so you can see them at least on your overview that's set to combat that normally wouldn't see friendlies. You have to take a standings hit to shoot them. So Minmatar, though, didn't really have a problem with this, because you could, the biggest hurdle was making sure that you knew that they were an enemy, because they were Minmatar that are shooting, but you just standardly were blue to these guys. And I think that's a good change, that and there's more people to shoot now. So we have all of Minmatar can come over and be pirates in our area, or we can go over to their area and be pirates if we want.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting, and just personally, I think it'll help expand my involvement with the game a little bit, as far as, because I have never had any interaction with anybody from the Ammar militias. I don't know any of their corps or any of their pilots, so I'm wondering if this will be something where we can, work together on objectives and stuff. So, um, I don't know. I think that could be interesting.
Yeah, well, and I think that it kind of keeps us from needing to really work with each other as much anymore, and kind of puts it, that we can focus on our own war zone. There's no reason to go over and plex in their systems because we can't plex in their systems anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But you can be friends with like an Ammar or Minmatar militia member, and I think that this will also probably make this podcast focus more on the Gallente war zone, which I really know more about,
Yeah.
which I can feel even more justified of not wanting to talk about the Minmatar and Ammar war zone, just because I'm not over there. I'm not fighting in those trenches, and I'm not able to give you firsthand reports about what's happening over there. And now I really can't, because that relationship is broke, and Minmatar are done working with us, at least from an NPC point of view. So Grandith says, so it's a free-for-all now for FW, no more alliance, or is that event is free-for-all? So the event is free-for-all. Everybody kind of versus everybody in this. The Caldari and Minmatar are not friends in faction warfare, but they're not enemies anymore. There is no war deck so you have to go pirate in order to shoot the Ammar if you're in the Gallente. So it is kind of a free-for-all now. The only thing that you can easily shoot at, or anything that you want to try and affect the game and get LP for doing, can only be done in your war zone now. And the event, they did say something along the lines of that if you were part of a Gallente faction warfare corporation, you could still pick anything. But I was forced into the Gallente. But in general, though, anybody can pick any thing for the event as well. So there is. Do you want to take us through the event, the path to war? So this is talking about the event. Let's kind of dig a little bit into that.
All right, should I grab my reading glasses? It's all right. The face of the face of warfare in New Eden continues to evolve as long-held alliances between the empires are fractured, and that the heat has just been turned up again. Empire and Capsular research efforts in Triglavian technology have provided an opportunity to build brand new interstellar shipcasters, along with the long-distance transport of ships across star systems directly into the war zone. This development alone has plunged the Empire into a fierce competition and conflict. That's a lot of what the scope had been talking about.
Right, yeah, and I don't think we need to go word for word through the whole thing, but let's just take a look at so the first thing that they're talking about there, what was the headline for that again? Oh, just urgent news. Urgent news, Capsuleers! So yeah, they kind of been talking about this shipcaster, and we're kind of building this shipcaster is like one of the big things that's going on here. So then they go on to talk about direct enlistment, which we already just talked about. And then Shadow War event. So this is the event that's going to be happening, right? And kind of give us a breakdown of what's going to be happening here. Like what they talk about, like there's the research data node, Wayland Courier, and the besieged laboratory sites. And these are all throughout faction warfare space, as well as some high-sec systems. Let me go ahead and pull up some of the... we'll pull that up a little bit later. So yeah, and then you get to choose which cause that you want to support. Actually, let me pull this up here. What am I doing? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so Yeah, looking for these the data nodes, Wayland Center, and the besieged laboratories. That I have spent some time in low sec. I didn't go into high sec at all to look for those, but um, yeah, the 7 systems I went into and scanned down. I did not locate any of those. So whether they had already been hit, I don't know what the spawn rate is on those. Um, but I am not having luck with these. So, but I'll
Yeah, and I
keep
hear
plugging
that if you
away.
go into these sites, you get a suspect timer too. So even if you're doing them in high sec, it's dangerous for you to do it.
Yeah, as soon as you go in, anybody else can go in, and then you're a free target. Once you do one, you come out.
Now it is like
Um,
restricted to frigates, right? So if we go into goals here, so I have like the inside of the agency you can go encounters, factional campaigns, and then shipcaster, shadow war.
Yeah, it depends. The research data nodes, you can have a Tech 1 or a Navy frigate. The Whaling couriers, you can have a Tech 1 or Navy destroyer or Tech 2 destroyer. Or, sorry, frigate. So Tech 1 destroyer or Navy or a Tech 2 frigate. So they did kind of break that up a little bit. And then the besieged laboratories, up to a battle cruiser or Navy battle cruiser. Class plus Tech 2 cruisers to get into those.
Not Tech 3
So,
though. So
yeah, none of them are Tech
interesting.
3
So
so far.
so these are the ones that I would probably like doing the most would be the besieged laboratories because this sounds like a real combat site. Um,
Yeah, and I'm not sure if there is. Well, there's going to be rats inside these also.
yes,
From
yes, and I haven't seen people do all 3 of these sites, but I've seen some of the sites, and they do like webbing, scramming, and they're pretty nasty. Like, um, they're all very short range, like just nab you, newt you, and like hit you really hard. I don't know if they all newt or not, but
and also this article goes back and just kind of explains. Doesn't really hit. It just says to bring Gallente up to speed. And for those of you that don't know, like last event, Gallente were supposed to help build Stargates and investigate the first part of this technology. And while we didn't do it, we were too busy fighting to do it. So we're the only faction that is we're behind. Is what it comes down to. Um, both Minmatar and Caldari at least have one aspect of this puzzle already kind of figured out. Gallente still needs to do both. So I would like to try to do that, but as we talked about before, the war zone is just hot, and it's really hard to go out and take part in this aspect of the game when literally we're constantly, plexing, defensive plexing, just so we're not losing our space.
yeah, I think that is something that Galente have also been always known for being more of wanting to just fight and do PvP is like the main goal of a lot of the Galente corps, which against the Caldari has always been like a hard thing on us because they've always had more plexers than us, and they've always had more people looking for just opportunity inside of this. But we've been able to stand pretty well against them in a PvP sense because a lot of their extra membership they have is members that just wanted to have faction warfare access as well as access to JITA. So they're not out there trying to, be participants in Caldari fleets. They're just trying to make as much LP as possible while still being able to go to JITA to a certain degree.
Yeah, so as Gallente, we need to go out, we need to hit these sites, we need to find the equipment that is in those. And it's my understanding to build, you have to actually go to an industrial aspect.
Yeah, so
Where you
they've
build
got
like
the
a data
scan down
node.
the research data nodes, the find the Wayland couriers, and find the besieged laboratories, and then The other thing that they have on here is the manufacturer stellar transmuter data core. And then once you have produced 10 of them, then you have to go drop them off in order to get the rewards. And then that's what gets you... so for every 10 of these that you build and turn in, you get these special boosters. So they've got the Federation Mobility Booster, minus 2% to ship inertia, plus 3 warp percent speed, plus 3% micro warp drive capacitor consumption. Or minus 3 micro warp drive capacitor consumption. Base duration is 2 hours. So you get that. Then you get one that gives you probe strength. The Federation Electron Booster gives you salvage module cycle time, sensor dampener optimal range, and fall off. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, for what it looks like, the industrial side of it, if you I think it's the absolute minimum requirement of industrial to actually build these. So you don't have to go out and, be up to whatever, Gallente 5, fusion, whatever to do them. I think it's basically pretty simple. And I don't think you actually lose points if you don't build them. If you have all the fragments, you've gone to the data site, you've grabbed all the stuff to build one, you can pass that off to another character. They can build it, then give you back the data core. You just drop it off, and you'll get all the points for it.
Yes, it is that turn-in when you get actual points. And I've got some new skins here that I'm kind of showing off. I don't know. I'm not too excited for these skins.
I know Asterothi was all excited about them. I'm like, really? They don't look that much different than the Doctor Who skins that came out. Maybe these have a little more blue than red, but
I mean, yeah, it's not bad looking, but it's like a catalyst. I'm not going to be flying around catalysts. I'm going to fly around a Navy catalyst. Like I'm gonna. Let's see some other ones here. There's a Vexer. I might be flying a Vexer around a little bit, but I'm not.
Oh, I still fly a Vexer all the time.
Vexer, I've got better skins than that. Like, why would I not want to wear this? The Deathglow Remnant.
I know, that's like one of the best skins on like anything.
Looks so freaking good.
Oh my.
So I've got a Vexer skin, but so I'm not super impressed. It's not like these. I mean, this one.
That's an awesome skin. I wear that one all the time. If I'm
this is kind of cool. I like the gold thing for the Vexer. Like, this does look good, but man, that Deathglow is just so much better looking. Let's see.
I have a Vexer that's had that skin on it for like 6-8 months. It's been sitting in a hangar, and the ship's just kind of turning black. And I refuse to clean it or change the skin out. It looks so cool, just kind of tarnished and weathered with the Deathglow on it. So
okay, this is kind of cool. The Talos, which I kind of want to do some more Talosing with the way that faction warfare. It's interesting. Faction warfare caters to two different types of PvP quite a bit, and it has been ever since battlefields have been introduced. It's there's a lot more long-range combat that can be happening in faction warfare, because faction warfare for a long time with just plexes was really that you would win the battles by being the brawler. You could do long range, but if the brawlers got on top of you, you're screwed. If you're doing long range and you're inside of a plex and you have control of the plex, people are just not going to want to fight you as much. And so the brawler was really allowed you to just sit on that button and get combat fights and stuff like that. But with the arrival of battlefields now, I definitely feel like long range is making a big comeback. But once again, I got the Aurora skin that I think is kind of cooler. It's got the wings.
Yeah, I got the little halo things on her. The wisps coming off it.
These drugs are kind of cool. It looks.
Yeah, I think the drugs are going to be pretty cool, but I think they're
hybrid tracking speed 9%, 9% tracking speed to velocity. drone tracking speed and velocity. That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that'll get you some zippy.
Drone damage and hybrid turret damage. Yeah, these are kind of cool. The drugs are kind of cool, I'll admit. Let's see, a Megathron, Penumbral Shadows. I mean, that is kind of cool. It's not insane, but the Federation skin is way cooler. But that's just, I don't even have that. It's like a billionist or something. But I have the Deathglow Remnant for this one, which is just so beautiful.
Those are great ships.
I don't know. I wish they had the Navy. Doesn't look like any of these are Navy versions, which I'm just really upset about.
But it is nice. I do plan on spending some time getting into this, working on this, just for those rewards.
Yeah, and I mean, we're at 1% progress. They're at 33, or Ammar at 33, Minmatar at 33.9, 34% for the Caldari. So everybody's just kind of moved it up 1% so far.
Again, it's a lot easier when you got 3 times as many people doing it too. So it's
well, I think that we have an advantage because none of the stuff is in our space. It's all in the enemy space. So we have to go and do all of their, like, nobody's able to take stuff from us because we don't have anything.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to remember why that is such an important thing. Anyways, let's see, what else is there? There's the shipcaster that we're building here. And we've talked a little bit about that, but I mean, I think the main focus on that is, you know, it's going to be a high-sec system that you can go to either in Taki, which is like a little island of or high-sec here. Which I find that interesting that ours is an island high-sec that's surrounded by 0.0. It's just, every time, man, it just is hard for us to...
yeah, well, they flipped the security on that.
They did turn it from a low-sec to a high-sec as well, so I'm like, you know... And it's deep inside of, you know, 0.0... Or, sorry, low-sec system. I think the ship I wonder if they're going to charge LP or what, you know, what the capabilities of the shipcaster is going to be. I find it interesting. Truthful though, I probably won't be even if we get a shipcaster, probably not going to use it. I'm not going to go to set up in Intaki. I'm a pirate. I'm interested if this, because they said that it like bypasses sinusoidal jammers, right? So do you still need a sinusoidal like person out there in order to sino you in? You know, is this going to be something that eventually players in 0.0 are going to be able to build? Because in faction warfare there isn't any sino jammed systems, so what, you know, if it just throws you to the front lines, it's not like, unless that just means that if I don't know why they brought that up.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting
because it sounds like this is something I think eventually the game plan, without them saying it, but I'm inferring from this, you know, or guessing, is that this is going to be technology that it's like if you were that you can build in 0.0, and that you'll be able to like throw your ships around, which is a little bit different than a jump bridge, because the jump bridges let you get quickly around your space. This will allow you to go into enemy space if there are enemies that are nearby.
Yeah, and I'm curious about limitations and stuff, like what size ships can go through this. Can I bring, you know, can we have a fleet of dreads take off from there and be thrown to the far side of the war zone. No, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to see. So, not a lot of information that I've been seeing out there about exactly what this shipcaster is, but the other thing that is going on is the Eve Mosaic. So there is the events that are kind of happening that if you want to be part of Eve Online's Mosaic that they're making. I don't know if I'm going to be in it, to be honest. I haven't.
Yeah, the end date's coming up soon. You have until the 22nd to do that. Night Flyer's in. I got my email from him saying that I've done it. Which was nice because I'd never done really any Abyssal stuff. So this kind of forced me to figure out, okay, what's this about? Like, what kind of ships should I use? How do I, what's the best way to do it? So it kind of forced me into that style of gameplay that I haven't really, spent any time in. So I did that, and it's enough, and now it's got me on the Mosaic. The mining blitz is fairly easy. Go out and get 2,000 rocks, and there you go. But so I'm in. At least one of my guys is.
I have to do 3 days worth of it too, right? To get in on the Mosaic?
That was the question I had too, because even with the Abyssal things, there's 3 different parts to it. You had to blow up 10 Triglavian ships, or 5 Triglavian ships, 10 drones, and 5 sleeper ships. Those were 3 different things. So was one of those 3 you had to complete, or did you have to complete all 3 of those on the same day as they popped up? So I didn't really get an answer on that, but yeah. But if you did that on that day and then did mining the next time it popped up, so the mining was fairly easy. You can do any of this stuff in high sec. So
yeah, I thought there was something about EVE Online complete a daily challenge on 3 occasions between now and March 22nd. So yeah, so there's three occasions though. So I wonder, that's vague language. I'm wondering if this is if I don't do one today, tomorrow, and the next day, will I be able to even be in on it? So maybe I have to do that.
Yeah, because you're running out of time, because today's almost tomorrow in Eve time, right?
Yeah.
Or are we already?
I think we're not quite yet. I don't
know. The time change has got me screwed up.
Yeah, so I think that's all that we have really for faction warfare, but there is the big war that's going on out in Nullsec right now. I'm not going to go deep into this, but we'll spend just a minute or so kind of talking about this. Yeah, go ahead and pull up pull up the coalition map, the one right next to that one. Yeah. So let's get a look here at this. So we've got Imperium versus an Imperium in, what is that, D2? D2?
Oh, up here in the corner.
Yeah, I can't see that.
They call it B2. I think that's just the Brave.
So it's Brave and We Form Volta, along with goons that are fighting Winter Coalition and PamFam. But for the most part, just out of PamFam, it's really just Pandemic Horde. So this is a war of aggression on B2, and it was Fraternity of the Winter Coalition basically saying, we want more space, and we're going to kick out B2 and take over their space. And it's not going very well, because Goonswarm came in strongly on B2 side, and so with Goonswarm and the Imperium kind of backing mostly Goonswarm, I believe. I don't believe Initiative is directly involved in this war. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But I haven't heard a lot from Initiative regarding this war. But we do know that, goons have been taking down multiple structures, specifically keep stars and fortizars have been getting laid to siege and have been getting blown up. Winter Coalition says that those are just floodplains, just like Goons said. The only difference that's really big on this, though, is that they're the ones attacking. Like, they're supposed to be trying to gain ground and conquering B2 space, and that hasn't really been happening. So, as far as I understand, as we kind of talked about before, it's been not very active, other than the big keep star fights, and there's a lot of people just whining and crying about how there's not enough content actually coming out of this war. So we'll see if this turns into maybe B2 starts invading Winter Coalition, and goons help them and push. Winter Coalition gets pushed all the way out of their space if this gets turned around. But at this point in time, it is just a defensive, and the defensive is going very strongly. The offense had completely stalled out and has now completely retreated back into their space, from my understanding, to say that those were just floodplains.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long this battle will go on, but I think as more pressure is put on Winter Coalition, they're not going to have any issue any choice but to start amassing some type of defense. And at that point, I think those goon pilots that like to fly the big toys will have their opportunity, but it's going to take time. I think it's just going to take backing them into a position where they have to.
So yeah, it's primarily all the fighting is concentrated up in the north, by Declan, I believe, and like Pure Blind areas. Definitely a interesting. We'll see how that goes, and it's not our primary concern for news, but I read on Reddit, and I hear from some people about the going-ons up in all of 0.0. Got my ears everywhere.
But as we kind of talked about or hinted to before, the fact that you and I both know a lot of pilots that are in these larger corporations that have an interest in getting into the faction warfare and doing this direct enlistment, but because of these engagements, haven't been able to take part in that. So I think when this war kind of wraps up or gets to a point where they can, I think you'll see those players, from those big blocks come into low sec and start pew-pewing with us again. So,
all right, well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap things on up here. So thank you all for watching. If you have an interest in joining the war effort, go ahead and put an application into Golden Age Stories, or go ahead and do direct enlistment now. Just get into the front lines, get to Devon, whether you're Caldari, whether you're Gallente, but specifically to our Gallente friends out there, let's raid and continue to hold Devon at this point, and we will survive. We're gonna get some good fights out there. You can also watch us live on Twitch every Sunday at 2300 Eve time. That's 5 p.m. Central Time. However, if you have missed the show, you can always listen to us on our podcast, The Federation Frontline Report. You can find that on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and pretty much any other podcasting platform that's out there. Different platforms that provide video, like Spotify, iTunes, of course, YouTube. You can get the video version of this. Also, check out our website, federationfrontline.com, for more information on our alliance, our podcast, and EVE Online in general, as well as friends of the show. If you have news and would like to talk about the show, or news that you'd like us to talk about on the show, if you want to be a guest, or you have an after-action report that you want us to talk about, we would love to tell your story. Just go ahead and send an EVE mail to Frozen Fallout in-game in EVE Online, or You can always hit me up at frozen.fallout@gmail.com. All right, thank you all for watching. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.